I discovered my wife's affair in the most unexpected way, through a routine medical checkup that was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of our lives. But let me start from the beginning. I met my wife at a tech startup in Seattle 6 years ago. I had just relocated there for what I thought would be my dream job, and she worked in customer success. During my first week, she showed me around the office, pointing out the best coffee spots and warning me about the temperamental printer on the third floor. We clicked right away. Both of us were ambitious, loved traveling, and shared the same dry sense of humor. After dating for 2 years, we got married in a small ceremony. Before tying the knot, we had several honest conversations about what we wanted in life. We both agreed that having kids was important, but we wanted to wait until we were ready. Our 20s, we decided, would be for adventures, hiking in national parks, trying exotic foods in different countries, and building our careers. Those early years were amazing. We went bungee jumping in New Zealand, spent a month backpacking through South America, and even learned to sail together. But as I approached 32, something changed in me. I started feeling ready for the next chapter, having a family. My wife, though, seemed content with our current lifestyle. The argument started small. She'd point out another exotic destination she wanted to visit, and I'd counter with the benefits of settling down. These discussions grew into full-blown fights about our future. During one particularly heated moment, I told her I might have to leave if having children wasn't in her plans. Looking back, it was unfair to give her that ultimatum, but I was desperate. She admitted she had fears about motherhood, but said she did want kids eventually. That gave me enough hope to stay. Things got weird about a year later. My wife started going out more frequently with her friends. At first, it was just weekends, but soon she was heading to happy hours 3 or 4 times during the week. Meanwhile, I was usually at home, trying to maintain some work-life balance in my new role as a project manager. We had become good friends with our next-door neighbors during this time. They often invited us over for barbecues, and we'd return the favor with movie nights. The husband worked in finance, and his wife, Raven, was a kindergarten teacher. They seemed like the perfect neighbors until the night that changed everything. I was watching a documentary about deep-sea creatures when our doorbell rang. It was Raven, asking if I could help jumpstart her car since her husband wasn't home yet. As we walked to her driveway, she mentioned being disappointed about a canceled happy hour, the same one my wife was supposedly attending. According to Raven, my wife had told her it wasn't happening. This caught me off guard because I knew my wife had left for that very happy hour just an hour ago. When I confronted my wife later that night, she spun a story about how Raven had somehow offended someone in the friend group, so they didn't want her there. It seemed odd. Raven was one of the kindest people I knew, but I wanted to believe my wife. Our relationship had grown distant over the previous months, especially physically. We barely spent time together anymore. Then suddenly, one evening, my wife was unusually affectionate when I got home from work. A week later, she surprised me with positive pregnancy test results. I was overjoyed. Finally, we were having a baby. But my happiness was built on a lie that would soon come crashing down around me. During the early stages of the pregnancy, I noticed my wife was still going out frequently. Not to bars anymore, but she'd often be gone for hours, saying she was meeting friends or running errands. I thought we'd spend this special time together, sharing the excitement of becoming parents, but she seemed distant. What really bothered me was how she kept refusing to let me join her for ultrasound appointments. She'd say things like, "It's just routine," or "Nothing exciting happens." But I wanted to see our baby on the screen, to hear the heartbeat, to feel like I was part of this journey. After weeks of asking, she finally agreed to let me come along. At the clinic, watching that tiny figure move on the monitor made everything feel real. I was about to ask for a photo when the doctor mentioned something about the baby's development timeline. Out of curiosity, I asked about the conception date. Before the doctor could finish explaining, my wife jumped in, trying to change the subject. But the doctor had already mentioned an estimated date range. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something was bothering me about those dates. My wife and I had only been intimate once in recent months, and when I counted backward, the timing didn't add up. I spent hours researching online about pregnancy detection timelines. Everything I read suggested it was extremely unlikely to get a positive test result just a week after conception, which is when my wife had shown me the test. The more I thought about it, the more things stopped making sense. The sudden intimacy after months of distance, the resistance to having me at appointments, the weird situation with Raven and the happy hour. It felt like puzzle pieces were coming together to form a picture I didn't want to see. I've always respected privacy in relationships. Going through someone's personal things felt wrong on every level. But the thought that I might be raising another man's child while being deceived about it, that changed everything for me. One afternoon while my wife was at another appointment, I sat down at her laptop. I wish I hadn't found anything. But there they were, hundreds of messages between my wife and Raven's husband hidden in her social media accounts. They had been having an affair for months. The baby was his, and they had agreed to pass it off as mine. He wanted nothing to do with the child, worried it would ruin his marriage and his position at his father-in-law's company. Reading their conversations about how they would trick me into raising their baby, it felt like someone had ripped my heart out. After discovering the truth, I couldn't act the same around my wife anymore. How could I? Every time she talked about the baby or tried to involve me in pregnancy-related decisions, I felt sick. But I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I contacted a divorce lawyer and started preparing my exit strategy. We had a baby shower planned in a few weeks where all our friends and family would be gathered. I decided that would be the perfect moment to expose everything. In the weeks leading up to the shower, I barely slept. I kept things civil with my wife, participated in the shower planning, and acted excited about the gifts we were registering for, all while knowing I was about to blow up our entire world. Some might say I should have handled it privately, but after discovering how they had plotted to deceive me, I wanted them to face public consequences for their actions. The day of the baby shower arrived. Our house was decorated with blue balloons and banners since we had found out it was going to be a boy. Friends and family members filled our living room, bringing gifts and sharing pregnancy stories. My wife was glowing in her blue maternity dress, accepting congratulations from everyone. Just before it was time to open presents, I stood up and asked for everyone's attention. The room quieted down, probably expecting some emotional speech about becoming a father. I looked at my wife, then at Raven's husband, who was standing near the snack table, and started speaking. "I want to congratulate the real father of this baby," I said, looking directly at him. The room went completely silent. My wife's face turned white. "I know everything about the affair, and I know this isn't my child." I pulled out the divorce papers from my jacket and placed them on the coffee table in front of my wife. "I'm not going to raise another man's child while being lied to," I continued. "I've already packed my things and found a new place to stay." The room erupted into chaos. Raven, who had been sitting near the gift table, jumped up and grabbed her husband's arm, dragging him outside. My wife started crying, trying to explain, but I didn't want to hear it. Our families were shocked, her parents looked devastated, and my mother was already on the phone canceling the nursery furniture she had ordered. Later, I heard through mutual friends what happened after I left. Raven's father was furious when he found out about the affair. Her husband had been next in line to take over their family business, a successful construction company. That opportunity disappeared overnight. They got divorced, and he lost not just his marriage but his career path too. My wife couldn't afford to keep our house on her own salary, so she moved back to Portland to live with her parents. Last I heard, she and Raven's husband tried dating openly for a while, but it didn't work out. I guess the excitement of sneaking around was what really drew them together. It's been 18 months since that day. I'm in a much better place now, dating someone who shares my values and dreams. We met through a hiking group, and she's straightforward about wanting a family someday. While it's too early to know if this relationship will go the distance, it feels honest and real in a way my marriage never did. Sometimes I think about how different my life would be if I hadn't gone to that ultrasound appointment, or if Raven hadn't knocked on my door that night needing a jump start. I might be raising another man's child right now, living a lie. Instead, I'm building a new life based on truth. My ex-wife sends me messages sometimes, usually late at night, apologizing and saying she regrets everything. I never respond. Raven moved to Arizona for a fresh start, and her ex-husband apparently took a job in another state. As for me, I'm focused on my future. The whole experience taught me that while the truth can be painful, living a lie is much worse. Looking back, I realized that what hurt the most wasn't just the affair. It was the calculated plan to make me raise their child as my own. That kind of betrayal shows you exactly who someone is. But life has a way of moving forward, and sometimes losing what you thought you wanted leads you to something better. I'm not bitter anymore, just grateful that I discovered the truth before it was too late. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.